Can you hear it?
Yep. I'll let you know if the voice doesn't catch up. Last week it took a little
Welcome
bit
to
catch up.
Module 4, How to
There it
Sell
is.
a Seller. Before we get into today's module, how did you do with Module 3's action steps? Oh, come on, I hear your groans from here. Now, you know I wouldn't ask if I didn't care. You can do this. We are halfway through the 8 weeks of our Mastery Essentials. This is a crucial time for you to recommit if necessary. Will you persist and stay on the path to your best business? Or will you sabotage all of the momentum you've started? Stay with us. Do your best. It'll never be perfect, and that's okay. Just keep moving forward. Now, today we have great stuff in store for you. I've been around this business for over 22 years, but actually it's been much longer because my mother has been a top producer for over 33 years. So I grew up in this business. And the more things change, there are always those principles to live by. And one of the most important in real estate is you list to last. Just think of your business right now. What would it feel like if you had 3 extra listings that showed great with really nice clients to work with and their price to sell? You're feeling fabulous, right? Well, in this session today, we're going to focus on sellers so you can list more, feel fabulous, and your business can last for years to come. Welcome to Module 4.
Welcome to Module 4, How to Sell a Seller. No matter what the market conditions have been in the last 50 years, there is one thing for certain. A well-priced, easy-to-show listing that's in good condition is the most valuable resource in real estate. Companies identify their market share based on the number of sellers they represent. And a sign in the yard is still an extremely valuable asset to your business. In other businesses, people value the rights to put their name in front of a piece of real estate. For example, the Golden State Warriors were paid $10 million a year by Chase when they opened their new arena. AT&T, they pay the Dallas Cowboys $19 million a year to put their sign in front of Jerry's house. And who knew? Who knew that the Canadians would be the craziest of all? Scotiabank committed to a contract for $800 million for the naming rights to the Air Canada Centre over the next 40 years. Now, the beauty of our business is we actually get paid by our customers to put our naming rights in front of their properties. Isn't that amazing? We get paid for that. So let's find as many sellers as we can so we can get our naming rights out in the marketplace. Does that make sense to you? Yes. I know we live in a high-tech world. I know the world we live in. I participate in it. I love it. I enjoy it. I love the fact that I used to spend hours in a bar in Ireland as a kid growing up, and you'd argue over every fact. And now all the conversations are cut short because you just, well, I'm going to Google that. And Paddy would say, Jimmy Morrissey scored more goals than any man in the history of Dublin. Let's Google that. No, he didn't. Next conversation. We do live in an amazing world, don't we? And the speed of the information and the way in which technology is bringing our culture along, it's fascinating. But there are still dynamics that will never change. This right here, your for sale sign with your name on it, with your website on it, is a very, very powerful tool. In fact, I believe the most powerful tool that exists in real estate marketing. We teach lead generation. We teach, planting seeds, doing calls, doing notes, doing pop-bys, right? But understand the goal of it, one of the dynamics is to get these. We do the calls, we do the notes, we do the pop-bys, we till the soil of our database so we can get these. Does that make sense? Yeah. And later on in our time management piece, in Module 8, I'll be showing you what the priorities of this business are. And this is one of them right here. Getting your sign in front of people's homes. It's still an extraordinarily powerful dynamic. And no matter what the conditions of the market are. Now, obviously, in an inventory shortened market, this is like an ATM machine. You know, if there's very little inventory and you put up a for sale sign and it's well priced and in good condition, you're going to get paid pretty quickly. Is that true? In a tight market, it's fantastic. In a bad market, it's still fantastic. And I've existed in all of these. Because what it means is you have signs in yards. What it means is people are going to call off signs, believe it or not. It also means you have something to sell. So imagine this. This is how I want you to think about it. Imagine you're in the retail business and you have no stock. You're in retail, but people come to your store and you say, well, I just don't have anything. That puts you at a great disadvantage. Would you guys agree? So this is a dynamic. For me, I viewed this as owning my own store. I averaged selling in my career, the last 7 years of my career, I sold 40% of my own listings, which meant I represented the seller and the buyer 40% of the times. What did that mean? Well, the agent on the other side of the deal I could get along with, at least most of the time, okay? It meant that every time I sat in front of a seller, I'd look him in the eye and say, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to bring in an offer. Now, 60% of the time I won't, but you need to know, I'm going to be trying. Do you know that most agents aren't even trying to sell their own listings? They're not even trying. That's not their frame of reference. They're very sincere. They're very much in earnest. But that's the white belt mentality. The black belt mentality is, this is a piece of inventory that I'm going to sell. I'm going to promote to the marketplace. And by the way, I'm going to compete with the MLS myself, with my own buyers. That's how I viewed it. I always do a little technique every morning. This is real old school now. I'm going to date myself, but I'm at this more than 3 decades. But I used to have every listing. Yes, I had it in the MLS, and we'd have all our stuff sorted, and I had a wonderful assistant who was, you know, it was like the beautiful mind in there. But I would start out every morning with 3x5 cards and a picture of the house and a description of it underneath. That's right, old school. And here's what I would do. I would sit in my chair. I'd have the feet up on the desk. I'd look at the house, and like Johnny Carson. You remember Johnny Carson used to do the Karnak? I would look at the picture. I would put it to my head, and I'd go, who do I know wants to buy this house? Who do I know that wants to buy this house? I would ask myself that question. I cannot tell you the number of times that all of a sudden a name would come to mind. One of the reasons when Buffini & Company was building its contact management system, the Referral Maker, CRM, I built in there a dynamic so that people could search their own database. So for example, now, I mean, I was using the Karnak. When we built the CRM, it's kind of like, okay, I have someone who said, hey, if you ever find a house that has room for horses, let me know. If you ever find a house that has an Olympic-sized swimming pool or a lap pool, let me know. And someone along the life's journey, some of my clients, they were happy where they were, but they were always saying, you know, if you know something, I would make a note of that. Now I make a note of that in the CRM. Now I'm able to search by those features and pull up the buyers that in the past, pull up people in my database that said, if you find something like this, let me know. Are you guys with me? So this is very powerful. This is like you own a retail store, and these are the blouses and the shirts and the shoes and the pants. It's the inventory. Most agents just look at it as, I'm get a seller, fantastic, I'm going to put it in the MLS, another realtor's going to bring me an offer. Fantastic. That's going to happen more often than not. But your mindset is, this is your inventory, you're going to sell it. Does that make sense? Now, in our buyer module, we went to a very sophisticated definition of a buyer. And a buyer is somebody who buys. You remember that very profound statement? Seller's a little trickier, and it's in your workbook for you. A seller is someone who's sufficiently motivated to go through the challenges of marketing and selling their home in order to make a move. So someone who's sufficiently motivated to go through the challenges of marketing and selling their home in order to make a move. So first of all, it's someone who's motivated. Are you guys with me, yes or no? Yes. So a sign in a yard in front of a property, let's say the property's worth $500,000 and they have it on the market for $6 million. Have you ever heard of something like that? Yeah. Shock and horror. And so the person's like, well, if I got the right offer, I'd move. They are not sufficiently what? Motivated. They're not sufficiently motivated. We need to know why someone needs to move. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a moment in the most important presentation that exists with a seller called a pre-listing appointment. There's also challenges. They have to be someone who's willing to put up with a bit of discomfort. Okay? If you meet someone day one, they go, I don't want to put a sign in my yard. I don't want anybody coming through my house, and I don't want to keep it clean and available for show. That's not a listing. That's a wishing. I wish someone would write me an offer. Okay, but that's not a listing. Are you guys with me? And they're interested in making a move, and I'm going to show you how this works. When you get a sufficiently motivated seller who's willing to go through challenges, who wants to make a move, now you're on to something. My good friend Joe Nego, he's referred to as America's best listing agent. I'll be sharing some of his protocols for you in our tips and techniques section today. But he says a listing is the crown jewel of real estate opportunity. This is a guy that with one assistant was selling over 200 homes a year. Average 250 his last 4 with one assistant. Not someone with 25 buyer's agents as people do it today. Now, we're going to focus on a specific aspect of working with sellers here today, and that's going to be how to sell the seller. So here's what we're going to focus on right here, the 3 elements of a listing. First, the pre-listing appointment, as I mentioned. And many of you don't even know that. Most agents, they get a phone call to go on a listing appointment, and that's it. They're delighted. They got a phone call, even if it's a referral, and say, come on over, we're thinking about making a move. Great, I'll be right over. Or can we make an appointment? And the agent's so happy. They don't understand they just missed out on what is the most important aspect of working with a seller. And we'll show you here today, the pre-listing appointment. And then we're going to get into the essentials of the listing appointment. And then ultimately, the communication plan. All right? Which is where we set the expectations. That's what the communications plan is for. Many people, if they sell a house in 30 days, they're good, but after 30 days, they're in trouble. And so we want to lay out the communication plan with the seller. Now, let me kind of walk you through this and why you want to go essentials, advanced, ultimately onto legacy. I want to show you how it's going to show up in a lot more signs and ultimately a lot more closed transactions and a far more robust business. Watch this. You take typical 10 listing opportunities. So you have 10 listing opportunities. Here's the way it typically breaks out. 2 of them, no matter what you do, no matter what, they're not going to list with you. They're just not going to list with you. They either weren't sold on working with a realtor, they're not sold on putting their house on the market, they want ridiculous amount of money, no commission, or sometimes it just doesn't, it's not a fit. Sometimes it's not a fit for you. Have you ever gone on an appointment and all the alarm bells were going off? Uh-oh, jackass ahead, beep, 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 beep. Now, if you have not been laying out any seeds and you only have one little seller and that seller is a jackass, you will take the overpriced listing with no commission that asks you to run a full-page ad, build its own website, do whatever else, have MTV do a cribs show, whatever else they want, and they don't want to pay you. And they're going to be a nightmare to deal with. If you don't have many leads, you're going to go with that person. Does that make sense? But sometimes I've been on an appointment, I go, you know what? Based on what I'm hearing you say and so on and so forth, and then normally I knew before the appointment. That's why the pre-listing appointment is so vital. But normally I knew, okay. Sometimes I only talked to one person and I met the mad, crazy spouse. And I go, you know what, I don't think we're going to be a good fit. Here's how I work, and then, you know, you might be looking for something different than I offer. Okay? It's okay to fire a client up front. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's okay to say no. I have 3 daughters. Okay? They're these knuckleheads, they're all good looking. They obviously are good looking. And so, you know, I train them up. Okay? Whoever comes through here is going to be like getting into the Navy SEALs. Okay? We're going to make them jump through a lot of hoops. Okay? And so, you got 10 listing appointments, 2 of them, probably not going anywhere, no matter how good you get. And this is important to know. This is important to know. You won't get them all. The next. There's 3 that no matter what you do, you're getting the listing. You sit down at the kitchen table, throw up all over their nice china. Oh, he's such a nice man, he must not be feeling well. Walk through the house, trip over the front step, break your front teeth. They're like, yeah. Wow, isn't it amazing he's still trucking on this appointment with no front teeth? He's like a hockey player. Okay? You forget all your presentation materials. I went to go list a house in La Jolla one time. Very, very expensive home. And my young brother Kevin was my new assistant at the time. And we had done a very, very expensive presentation for this doctor who was selling a very expensive home in a town called La Jolla, moving up to Malibu, very prominent surgeon. And we pull up to the front door, right on time, a couple minutes early, sitting outside. I go, Kevo, hand me the Friso. And he goes, what? The presentation, you know, the thing we worked on for a week? I don't have it. So I went in, I had a yellow pad and a pen, and we took that listing, okay? There were some skills involved and whatever else, but the truth is, I had that listing before I went on the appointment. That's why my brother's still alive, by the way. It was good for him, you know what I mean? So that worked out well. Then there's 5, and they are up for grabs. These are people who might be convinced to put their home on the market at the right time in the right place at the right price. These are people who might be interviewing other agents. These are people who may be considered doing it themselves. A whole host of reasons. This is up for grabs. Now I want to walk you through this. I want to show you the trajectory of career. I've shared with you that when you reach a master level, a black belt level working with buyers, you not just convert the buyer, but the goal is to get 2 referrals prior to closing. Now, I'm going to take you all the way to the black belt level with working with sellers. A black belt in this process, the real master, will go and get a well-priced, good condition, cooperative seller. And prior to the closing, will get 1 referral. Sellers do not refer at the same rate while you're serving them. They will refer at the same rate after the transaction is over. Why is that? Because when you're showing a buyer homes, a buyer has something to refer. Oh, this guy calls me every day. This guy gives me updates whether he's got something on the market or not. This guy's totally on the cutting edge. He's very into me. He's telling me what to do. He's got this great system. I go out looking at homes, so on and so forth. And a buyer doesn't feel that competition in referring someone at work, at the coffee pot, at church, at a ball game, whatever else. Oh, you should talk to Brian. He's great to work with as a buyer. Does this make sense? So they have something more to refer. A seller typically won't refer you until you've put at least an offer on their home or you've opened up an escrow. Does that make sense? And then oh yeah, he did a great job representing us. He got us an offer in however many days and so on and so forth. So I want to show you the difference though. Remember I talked you back to the 10 listing opportunities? So our white belt, they got 3 because they showed up, okay? And they have some kind of personal relationship. And then the goal is they're going to sell those 3. So they get 3 checks. Okay? The masters over here, there's 10 opportunities. They get their 3, and they get 4 out of the 5 that are up for grabs. The novice is going to walk away going, those sellers are not motivated. They're not ready. I did a great presentation, and then 5 days later, they told me they weren't going to put their house on the market for another month or so. A week later, 5 days later, I go by, there's a sign in the yard. And you'll hear the buyers are liars, sellers are worse. You know what those phrases are? Those are phrases of unskilled real estate professionals. I'm sorry, I have no desire to offend you. I have a desire to train you. But it's just the way it is. I've been in this business for 3 decades. And it's just a difference. There's just a difference. And it wasn't because, I have charisma or I'm able to sell no, skills. It's your skills that pay the bills. So watch this. Over here, I make 7 sales. Is that good? Is 7 better than 3? I know this is the essentials course, but can you figure that part out? Okay. So now I get 7 sales plus 7 referrals. I'm over here at 14. 3 versus 14. Here is what people have to understand. These people are pretty much working the same amount of hours. The master is able to leverage every opportunity. I'm working with the buyer. I'm going to get that buyer, and I'm going to get 2 referrals. 1 buyer a month, that's 36. one buyer a month, and I really haven't mastered the essentials, I'll convert half of them, and I get 6. 6 versus 36 on the buyer side. 3 versus 14 on the seller side. Are you guys tracking with me? And that's why this is important. That's why I keep telling you, there's a pathway here. And that's why I want to share with you. You can't get into the advanced and masterclass level unless you master these essentials. Are you guys with me? That's what it's about. That's why it's so crucial. And oh, by the way, the master comes back and does the fundamentals, the essentials, better than anybody else. Like, yes, there's some cool dynamics here and advanced stuff, and it really, you know, ooh, that's neat and it's great, and it is. As your business expands and your ability to grow teams and do other things and leverage yourself, influence the marketplace. But you're still able to write a note in such a way you get a response. Very, very powerful. Does that make sense? All right, so let's dive in now, and I'm going to talk to you about these 3 elements that I really want you to master. First, on the pre-listing appointment, which I said was the most important. The first thing you want to do is establish rapport. Establish rapport. Nice French word, rapport. Okay? Just picture, come on over for some wine and cheese, you know? So when you get a phone call or you're making a phone call and you get a referral, you get a lead, the goal is to establish rapport. Here's the definition, and you can write this in your workbook. It's a harmonious relationship in which people concerned understand each other and communicate well. A harmonious relationship in which the people concerned understand each other and communicate well. Harmonious, that's what we want, right? Not acrimonious. Harmonious. And it's a relationship. We're working by referral. We want to build relationships, not transactions, not just doing deals. I want to build a relationship long term in which the people concerned understand each other, and it's our job to understand them first. And when we buy into them and we give them our attention, our full attention, lock in, then they'll buy into us. And then we communicate well, and that's what it means to be a pro. So, how do you do it? You build a frame of reference. You build a frame of reference. So I'm going to give you a little questionnaire that you can fill in here. And this should be where anytime you're talking to a future seller of yours, you want to have this available to you. Even when you've mastered it. I had these in little cards, kind of laminated in my office. I had it in my briefcase back in the day when I carried a briefcase. Okay, so I had it with me all the time. So here's the questions you want to ask a seller. Why do you want to move? Why? What's the importance of the word why? We're trying to establish motivation. Why do you want to move? Next, do you have a specific time frame you'd like to move by? Okay? Nothing is more important for sales than understanding a sense of urgency. Yeah, well, sometime in the next 5 years, we'd like to be in Florida. Okay, then. Next, what would you say your home is currently worth? Well, you're the expert, Brian. What do you think? No, I'm just trying to build a frame of reference here. I'm going to do an analysis. I'm going to do all the homework. I just want to know what you think. I'm not going to hold you to it. You may not have a high enough value on your home, okay? Or you may have gotten some information that isn't accurate, so I just want to know what your frame of reference is. Okay, next. What do you owe on the property? Now, am I able to find that out without talking to him? Yes. I'm asking because I intend to talk to him about financial matters, and I'm now on the phone in the pre-listing appointment. Not, I'll be right over on Thursday. I'm establishing this rapport, and one of the parts of the rapport is I'm your financial advisor in real estate. How much do you owe on the property? Next, what are some of the special features of the home? Very important. You walk in, you do a market analysis, you show up at the house, and it's not exactly what you thought it was. And the interior, is it in good shape? What enhancements or improvements have you made to the property? What enhancements or improvements have you made to the property? The great Vince Lombardi, I've quoted him quite a few times here because he's the king of essentials. He's the king of the essentials. This is the football. They had 3 basic plays, the Packer sweep, Packer left, Packer right, Packer sweep up the middle. Okay? We win our games in practice, he said. We learn and follow the fundamentals of our game better than anyone in the league. All of our games are won in what? Practice, which is the preparation. The preparation, okay? And then lastly, we're going to cover the pre-listing appointment. And just a mindset for you is that 95% of your listings should be taken before you see the home. 95% of your listings should be taken before you see the home. And people say, oh, you know, I just want you to come over and take a quick look. Great. Can I ask you a few questions? I'm in a hurry. You know what? Just before I come over, just real important, what would be a good time for us to talk? People, oh my gosh, you're unselling the appointment? The opposite. I'm not going on that appointment until I go through the pre-listing appointment, because if somebody's going to say to me, well, I'll be honest, I think it's worth about 900 grand. I'm moving to Florida sometime in the next 5 years. I had this happen to me. I'm putting my home in the market because I want to show my neighbor that my house is more valuable than hers. Great. Do you think I went on that appointment? Do you think other agents would? Yeah, I've got people to serve. I've got things to do. I'm not going on an appointment that I should. I'm not showing up for a game unless I'm going to win. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay? And I'm going to have all the necessary tools to do there. So what we're going to do right now is go back in time. Now, we have this state-of-the-art studio. You've witnessed some of these state-of-the-art role plays we've built, but I'm making a point right now because the market is so caught up with new and next, new and next, new and next. So we're actually going to show you a video of a pre-listing appointment from 2005. This was in our first ever training program called 100 Days to Greatness. And I'm showing you this video and the listing appointment video in this training program to make a point that as much things change, as much things stay the same. That good, competent, professional skills, exercise are not going out of style. There's been a hell of a lot of technology has been created since 2005. Would you guys agree? The world's almost unrecognizable. I want you to watch a 2005 video of a pre-listing appointment where this agent expertly goes through that frame of reference checklist. So let's take a look, go back in time, and see how principles don't change. Let's take a look.
Hello?
Hello, Elizabeth. Brandon Spencer from Lakeshore Real Estate. I talked to your daughter, Christine, and she said you'd be interested in me coming over to take a look at your home?
Yes, that's right, Brandon. Do you mind if I put you on the speakerphone?
No problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now, Elizabeth, just so I can make our time together more valuable when I come to visit your home, there are a few questions I'd like to ask right now that would really help me understand your frame of reference, help me prepare for our time together, make the time more valuable for both of us. Does that sound okay?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, just a couple thoughts, Elizabeth. First, why do you want to move?
Well, my children are living in Seattle, and I like to be closer to them.
I see. And do you have a specific time frame you'd like to move on?
Well, I have a grandchild arriving in 3 months, so I'd like to be settled in by then if possible.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. Okay, Elizabeth, what would you say your home is currently worth? And I'm sure you've talked to some of your neighbors, but what would you say your home is worth right now?
You know, I'm not quite sure. I know that some homes have recently sold in the neighborhood, but Brendan, since you're the expert, why don't you tell me?
Well, yes, I am the expert, and I'll do a specific market analysis of your home, but it's really important for me to understand where my clients are coming from, get their perspective. So you probably have some idea in regards to the homes that have sold in your area, and you know what you paid for your home. If you were to give me a ballpark figure right now, what would you say your home's worth?
Well, what I'd like to get, and what I think it's worth, is about $300,000.
300. And have any homes in your neighborhood sold for that?
Well, specifically, no. But ours isn't a tract home. I know that some homes have sold for more, but some have sold for less.
Okay, that's great. And I'll be sure to do some thorough research on that. And you mentioned it wasn't a tract home. What are some specific features of it?
Well, it's 3,300 square feet. I have a swimming pool. There's hardwood floors throughout, a custom kitchen with new upgrades, and the yard is fully landscaped with a beautiful garden.
And were these improvements made after you purchased the home?
All except the swimming pool. It was already here.
And the interior, it's in pretty good shape? You've decorated it nicely and think it shows well?
Yes.
Excellent. Now let me ask you another question just from a financing aspect. What do you currently owe on the property, Elizabeth?
I only owe $65,000.
Okay, well, that's important to know as I figure out your equity and help you make a decision as to what you can probably buy in Seattle. Okay, one more question. What kind of home and what price range are you looking at?
Well, I'd like to downsize, maybe a 2-bedroom, but I'm comfortable with the payments I'm making right now. I was thinking of putting about $100,000 down on a new home.
And have you looked for any homes there yet? Have you seen anything that caught your eye?
Only in the homes for sale magazines I've looked at.
Are you currently working with an agent there?
No, not at this time.
Okay, that's great. Again, as part of the service I provide, I can find you a good agent there that I'll refer you to make sure you're taken care of the same way I'll take care of you here.
That would be wonderful.
Good. Now, Elizabeth, when would you like for me to come over? Is Thursday at 3:30 okay, or would Friday be better?
Thursday at 3:30 is fine.
I'm looking forward to seeing you and your home and getting it on the market for you. Take care, and thanks so much for all your time.
You're welcome.
I'll see you Thursday at 3:30.
Okay then.
Clinic, right? Yes. Now, he had a giant computer. He had some VHS cassettes on his desk, okay? She put him on speakerphone. Remember those? Here's the thing. If that was a gal that had found him on Zillow and had done a Zestimate on her home, every part of that dialogue holds up. Every part of those skills hold up. He did the pre-listing appointment. He knows from her perspective what she thinks the house is worth, what she's done to the home, so there's no surprises, what he can expect when he goes on the appointment. And he also set the table, like many Buffini agents do, for an out-of-state referral. Where are you moving to? Where do you want to go? Because every seller has got to go live somewhere. And so he not only is securing the listing, he's setting up where she's going to move to. She's not moving across town. She's a motivated seller. She has a grandbaby coming. She wants to be in the Pacific Northwest in 3 months. She's got boom, boom, boom. He's got it all. And like thousands of referrals happen from people in our membership to one another every year throughout the U.S. and Canada. Does that make sense? That was 2005. Don't get fooled. Don't get fooled. This is an advanced approach to how we train people. We want you to really grow through Essentials, Advanced, Legacy. We want you to become the cream of the crop, the black belts in this business. But understand that some of the dynamics of real estate will never change. And being a pro and being fundamentally sound is where it starts. Does that make sense? So the pre-listing appointment is in your workbook, that whole role play. And it's nice to see these dialogues in action, right? So if you're in a classroom setting like this, when this session ends, I think it's a great idea to take a little time to role play with one another. If you're taking this course online, again, I've said this to you many times, I want you to record and read out this dialogue and then listen back to the sound of your own voice. You will be profoundly impacted at how professional you sound. Even if you're reading it and it feels awkward and stilted, when you hear back, you go, man, I sound pretty good. And if you're newer and newer in the business, you'll be like, hey, I got the mojo. I'm going to sound great on the phone, okay? And so, sure enough, you do. And if you do a great job on the phone with the pre-listing appointment, you're going to get the listing. Make sense? Now we're going to talk about the essentials of the listing appointment. Now, I'd need an hour and a half to walk you through a full listing appointment, but let me give you some essentials. Here's just some notes to write in your workbook. First, tour the home and always take notes. Always take notes. Even if you're one of those people that's on your phone all the time, be seen to take notes. If there's nothing to see, take notes. Now, there's always something to see. But I would always walk in and say, give me the tour of your home, like you're showing it off to your best friend. And I would just follow, and I would make note, and I would just write it down. Does that make sense? Next. Give them your competitive market analysis. You say, oh, gee, Brian, this is real basic stuff. Of course I'm going to do a CMA. That's not what I said. A CMA is something you print up after doing basically a quick appraisal of a home. A competitive market analysis, you have to give analysis of the value of the home, of the condition of the home, and how the home stacks up on the market. You have to let them know that home is going on the market. And this particular product line is going to compete. You see, You have to help them go from being, this is a home, to a house. When they live in it, it's a home. When it's on the market, it's a house. And the house competes with other houses in the marketplace. And there's no emotion to it whatsoever. Next, present the price quickly and confidently. Just don't beat around the bush. Now don't go, blah, 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 blah. Look over there, squirrel. 300 grand, squirrel. That's not what we're talking about. Just, you pull in a Band-Aid, there's not a seller in the world who doesn't think the house is worth more than it is, because it's their home. It's their home. The bump in the drywall, their son hit their head, bumped the drywall. They brought him down to the doctor. They walked in. They reunited with the nurse who was her best friend from high school, and she'd lost contact with her in 15 years. Are you guys with me? When I'm walking through, we're going to spackle the hole in the wall. But for them, it's a memento. Are you guys hearing me? And nobody is practical when it comes to this. I represented an engineer. You guys ever work with an engineer? I found parts of the contract that I didn't know existed. And his name was Kurt Schmidt. And Kurt, I sold, it was a tract home. He lived in a nice subdivision, but all the homes were built at the same time, brand new homes at the time. They were all the same. His best friend lived next door. I sold his best friend's home. Okay? Right around $300,000. 30 days after the sale, he decided to move and was going to move near his best friend again. And I'm walking through the house with him. He's an engineer, linear logical systems engineer in one of the big firms here in San Diego. I just said, Kurt, what do you think your home's worth? $340. Well, you know I sold Carl's house for $300. Yes, I know, but we get a breeze that Carl doesn't get. This is an engineer. You're next door. Then he said, look at the tile in the master bathroom. I took 5 Saturdays to put that tile in there. Now I'm thinking to myself, it's going to take us 6 Saturdays to get that stuff out of there. But it was his home. People buy emotionally, justify logically. An engineer. You got to give the price quickly and confidently. You got to explain how the market works. You got to explain how the market works. Kurt, I understand. Your home is going to compete with other homes. Kurt, just so you know, when we put your house on the market and someone buys and makes an offer, the appraisal of the home I just sold next door is going to influence the value of your home. Does that make sense? The appraiser doesn't know about your tile or the breeze. The appraiser's just looking at the numbers. It's very unfortunate, I understand. Next is put your client in the buyer's shoes, okay? You want to put them in their shoes. You want to get out of their frame of reference that they're just a seller. You want to put them in the buyer's shoes. For example, buyer comes through the home, loves your home. It's been on the market 100 days. So they're going, this is perfect. What's the first thing that comes to their mind? What's wrong with it? Why didn't somebody else want it? And I don't want that to happen for you, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller. I don't want someone walking through your house going, what's wrong with it? We want to price it as well as we can to get those buyers. We can always say no to a low offer, okay? So we want to put them in the buyer's shoes. And if you do that, you break out the frame of reference, because it's not natural for people to think about someone else. It's just not. People are inherently kind of thinking about themselves and their situation. Here's the next one. Make sure you refocus the client on their goals. They know what your goals are, by the way. They know what your goals are. Your goal is to make money, sell my house. It's very clear what your goal is. The more you keep coming back to their goal. In this case, you want to move to Seattle. You want to get there in 90 days. You want to be there for that grandbaby. That's what you want. You want to keep coming back to their goals. Always restate them. By the way, you got to restate them all the way through the process during the negotiation and the in-transaction negotiations. Next, educate the client on how your commissions are paid and the value of your negotiating ability in the sale of their home. Now, whatever commission rate you choose to charge, it's just very important that you understand that a seller is going to ask for a discount. Now, so many agents get offended by this. It's kind of like they don't want to talk about this. This is the elephant under the carpet. And they kind of get offended. They've done all this work. They've built this rapport. They've connected. They take it personally that someone's asked them for a discount. Do you think Mr. Nordstrom's takes it personally when you go to his store? Say, is this on sale? Or Mr. Macy's or Mrs. Macy's? I don't think so. They don't take it personally. you don't think you're a cheapskate when you're looking for a deal. Have you ever tried to get a deal on a hotel or a flight or a car or on anything? Okay? The fact of the matter is, I expect it and I respect it. But I also respect myself and my skills and my ability. So, for example, I'm running a business here. And I'm going to run this business like a business. And, you know, you're asking me to cut my commission 1%. 1% sounds so teeny, doesn't it? But it's actually 33% of my income. And I have a hard time running a business if you keep chopping off 33%. And the next thing is, if I'm going to cave on my commission, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to cave on your price. So what I'm actually doing for you right now is demonstrating my ability to negotiate on your behalf. And all of a sudden, people want a strong negotiator working for them. And let me tell you, if they can negotiate my commission better than I can, they'd be better off negotiating the price of their house without me. Does that make sense? Yes. I said that I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Lastly, outline your communication plan. You're setting the expectations on how often they're going to hear from you and when. And it's very, very important so that people don't get nervous, okay? So let's go back to 2005, back into the time machine, and let's watch this thoroughly professional master agent handle this presentation, which would work in 2005, works today, and it'll work 25 years from now. Let's take a look.
Thanks for inviting me. You have a beautiful home.
Yes, my family's enjoyed it very much. I've lived here a long time.
Really? How long have you lived here?
Oh, nearly 25 years. Lots of good memories.
I'll bet. Well, Elizabeth, why don't we start off with a tour? Can you show me around?
I'd be glad to. If we come over here.
Well, you certainly have a lovely home, and I'm sure it'll sell.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Now, Elizabeth, when we discussed the price of your home on the phone the other day, we felt it was worth $300,000. And while I certainly can understand where you came up with that number, because this is a terrific home.
Yes, we've added a lot of upgrades over the years.
And I can see that. However, as part of my service to you, I gathered current comparable sales in your neighborhood and found 3 homes that sold for $250, 1 for $265, and 1 that looked quite a bit larger for $300,000.
What does all this mean for me?
Well, based on this information and my analysis of your home today, I believe you should list it at $279 and expect to sell at $270.
Well, I was hoping to get quite a bit more than that.
I realize that. Elizabeth, what I'd like to do right now is put you in the shoes of the buyer, okay? Now imagine this home's been on the market for 100 days and a buyer comes through and loves it. Now what thought is going through the buyer's mind when she realizes the home's been on the market for so long?
What's wrong with it?
Exactly. And I don't want that to happen to you. I mean, we can always say no to a low offer, but I believe at this price, you'll be in Seattle in 90 days. Hopefully in time to welcome that grandchild of yours into the world. Now, how does that sound?
Well, it is my goal.
Okay, let's get the ball rolling. All I need is your signature at the bottom of this listing contract here.
Well, now, Brendan, your strategy certainly makes sense, but I see that your commission is 6%. Is that the standard rate? It seems a little high. Would you be willing to do it for 5%?
Elizabeth, I appreciate you bringing that up, but here is the reality of the business. Now, there's a pretty good chance that the buyer of your home is going to be represented by another agent. And we have to offer that agent an attractive commission if we want them to show your house.
And what would that be?
3%, which leaves me 3%. Now, if we lower my commission to 5%, that lowers my income by 33%, and I can't run a business on that. In fact, my ability to negotiate my own fee right now is the very ability you're going to rely on to negotiate for you to get you top dollar. Do you agree with that?
Yes, it certainly makes sense.
Now, all I need is your signature on this listing contract, and we'll have your home on the market tomorrow.
That man's a pro, isn't he? He's handling commission. He's like a ninja, okay? He's got it all down. He's making her feel comfortable. He's going to get her to Seattle. By the way, he's doing the best he possibly can for that lady, and he's showcasing his negotiation. Now, as always, we've put these dialogues in your workbook for you. You can practice them, do a little role play with one another. Again, call, record, listen back. very powerful. Lastly, I'm just going to touch on a communication plan. And the purpose of this is it's very important that after you take the listing, now he had her sign an old school contract, you'd be docu-signing them up or whatever. The fact is you then want to lay out an expectation of what they can hope to see over the next few weeks. You want to let them know when you're going to be doing a broker's open if you're going to do that, or if you're going to do an open house, or what your marketing plan is. But one of the most important things beyond all that is your communication plan. Understand this, that when a seller puts their sign in the yard and their house goes up for sale, anxiety starts. And that every day that goes by and there's no word, they become not only anxious but frustrated. Silence is not golden. Silence is anxiety. So we need to let them know when they're going to hear from us. So here's a couple of tips just to let them know. Call every Friday with an update. You can let them know, you're going to hear from me every Friday. I'm going to give you a quick update. Just want you to know, getting your home sold is a high priority to me. Here's what happened this week. We had this many people look, this many people show. I followed up with these agents. One person says they're going to come back and look again. Here's what's happening. We're preparing for the broker caravan. Every Friday, I'm going to give them an update. They can always expect to hear from me. And for me, I preferred Friday morning. Next, every 21 days, no matter what, every 21 days, meet with the seller. In this world of technology and texting and messaging and instant messaging, folks, it's very easy to forget. Take the time. Take the time. Now, I would work as my average listing inventory was about 20 to 25 listings. When the market went in the tank in San Diego in the early 90s, my listing inventory grew to 50. And it was the market time, average market time was 180 days. So now I have people with me a long, long time. Let me share with you. I was not just Friday morning, all the way to Friday at lunchtime, I was giving these updates. They weren't always the easiest updates, okay? And then every 21 days, I'm going to see them face to face. This is the process. This is the time frame. Here's where we are. Now, in a normal market conditions, and to me, normal market conditions is that the market time is 90 days or less. You want to get a price reduction every 30 days until the home's sold. You can do that if you call every Friday. You can do that if you give updates. You can do that if you go see them every 21 days face to face. Because a couple of weeks after I went to see them face to face, now I'm on the phone going, you know, I really think we take a major step in the right direction if we reduce the price of the home. So today, we learned how to sell a seller. Isn't that right? We learned that a sign in the yard is like having naming rights in front of their property. We looked at the pre-listing appointment, the listing appointment, and the communication plan. And in time, if we master these essentials, we're going to succeed. We're going to be like that ninja agent, converting all those leads, making all those commissions. Fair enough? Fair. All right. Now, in today's tips and techniques, you're going to learn how to generate a listing right away. Now, as Jamie has been asking you to call through your database, a great tip would be to use the "oh, by the way" dialogue with a seller emphasis. And it goes like this. Oh, by the way, who do you know that is thinking about making a move? Especially someone thinking of selling. There's a tremendous shortage of homes on the market, and now is a great time to sell. So as you come across these people, I'd love to help them. Just send me their contact info, and I'll be happy to follow up and take great care of them for you. Okay? Now, that dialogue has helped me put a lot of signs in yards. And as much as you think that people know and what's going on in the marketplace, folks, they really don't know what's going on. The media doesn't really report what's happening accurately in the real estate industry. Does that make sense? Now, over the years, one individual who's really helped my career is Mr. Joe Nigo. As I mentioned to you, I was handling 20 to 25 listings a month. Joe was routinely handling 50, 60, and he was turning them over pretty well. Well, when my local market went into a recession and the market times went from 70 to 80 to 90 to 180 days, I needed to expand my skills on how I can handle more listings. I felt frustrated. I felt that I was letting people down. And so a continual improvement in my skills led me to spend an awful lot of time in Chicago. Now, Joe, on the other hand, he wanted to master working with higher end buyers. because his average sales price was lower. So he would come and follow me around, and we would spend time on honing each other's skills. So I helped him increase his average sales price. He helped me increase the volume and the quality of my service to sellers. Does this make sense? Now, Joe, as I've referred to him, is America's best listing agent. And years ago, I pleaded with him. I said, people are looking for information to deal with the housing shortage. So he created a program that we promoted at Buffini Company called Instant Inventory. Now, this program outlines 10 strategies to generate an extra 3 listings a month. Now, I'm going to share with you one of those specific strategies, and it's called I May Have a Buyer for Your Home. This is actually a great way to leverage the fact that your existing buyers may not be able to find a home right now, and how you can list a hidden gem that's currently not on the market. So I know many people are running around with buyers and a little frustrated in their local market. I have a really good buyer, and I don't have enough inventory to support that buyer. Well, rather than make that a problem, make it an opportunity. Does this make sense? Yep. So here's how you go about this. So how many of you right now have a buyer you can't find a home for, honestly? Okay? Okay, great. Very common. And what does a typical agent do? Well. There's no inventory, which means I'm not responsible for my success. I need more homes to come on the market. I need something to happen at a state, local, or national level for housing to increase. I need more agents to list more homes. That's what we're saying. As opposed to, no, I got a buyer. I'm going to turn that buyer into finding a hidden gem, and I'm going to find a buyer for a particular home that's not even currently on the market, and I'm going to sell both. And I'm going to turn that seller into a buyer. That's what the master's doing. Are you guys with me? Yeah. So here's how you do it. Identify 100 homeowners in your buyer's target neighborhood. Identify 100 homeowners in your buyer's target neighborhood. Next, prepare and send the I May Have a Buyer for Your Home letter, which we have for you as part of the course. So I may have a buyer for your home. So you have a buyer looking in this particular neighborhood. You've eliminated a bunch of neighborhoods. You know the price, you know the condition, you know the style of the home they're looking for. You've identified the homes. Out goes the letter. The letter looks like this. Dear homeowner, I'm currently working with a buyer who's been unable to find a home in your area. Your home has many of the features my buyer finds desirable. If you have any interest in selling your home, I'd be more than happy to arrange a one-party showing of your property. Please contact me, and here's the number. Thanks, Molly Lynch. Great. So Molly's representing this buyer. We've targeted 100 homes. Out goes the letter. Some people will even take a sticky note and write on there, here's my cell phone number, call me as soon as possible, to make it stand out. So it can look like this. Okay? Very cool. Third point. Schedule a buyer showing, not a listing appointment. This letter will generate calls for you. It will. We've shown this. I'm going to share with you some examples of some clients. It just works. When you get the call, stay disciplined. Because the call is going to sound like your typical listing call. Hi, Brian, I got your letter. Thanks for sending it to me. And they will then begin a conversation with you, and they sound just like a seller. You need to stay disciplined because it's a time to demonstrate integrity. Don't lose sight of who you're representing. You're just totally focused on the buyer. Okay? So here's a little dialogue we have for you. Thanks for calling. I really appreciate you taking the time to get back to me. As I mentioned in my note to you, this is not some blind solicitation, but a genuine request because I'm currently working with a buyer. I'd be more than happy to come by and take a look at your property. I could take video and send it to my client, or if you're comfortable with me bringing them by, we can set an appointment to show them your home. Now, before we set up that appointment, listen, do you have any idea what you think your home might be worth? And I'm straight into the pre-listing appointment. Now, I'm straight into the pre-listing appointment with a view towards representing my buyer. I want them to feel this is how I would represent them. That I'm staying true, and I am, staying true to my buyer. By the way, I'm telling my buyers, I'm out looking for homes that aren't on the market for you. Do you think that locks in the loyalty with my buyer? Do you think when they're at work or at church and someone's saying, tell me about you guys are looking, where are you looking? Well, we're looking here and here. Yeah, our realtor, he calls me every day to see if something's on the market. Right now, actually, we're going to go look at a house that's not even on the market. He's been canvassing the neighborhood we want to live in. I mean, that is pretty powerful referral. Would you guys agree? So I'm locking in my buyer. I'm demonstrating my ferocity and tenacity. and the seller's going, I might like to have that guy working for me. Does that make sense? Now, afterwards, you're going to send a personal note to the prospective seller. What a wild thought. And we've included the example of the note for you. Dear Mary and Bill, thanks for allowing me to view your home. I'll be in touch with my buyer over the next few days, and we'll get back to you soon. And you'll send that out after you've shown the buyer the home. Does that make sense? Yeah. So very, very complete, very, very powerful. And I want to share with you some agents just like you who followed this to the letter. And here's just a few examples. And some of these are emails, some of these are social media posts. I could show you thousands and thousands of people who've used this and done beautifully with it. So let's just take a look. This one here is from Raymond Carnevale. And he said, I had $1 million buyer for the last year, trying to find them a home in one specific neighborhood. Unfortunately, as it is all over the country, inventory is at an all-time low in our area. I sent out 63 letters, did not change a word of it, and had 2 potential sellers invite me over to see their home within 3 days of receiving the letter. So think about it. $1 million buyer looking for a year. 63 letters, a couple of leads in 3 days. Are you guys with me? Oh, by the way, he just reconnected that buyer. The buyer's given up a little bit of hope. Now, $1 million buyer is probably a little particular, the type of property they're looking for. But all of a sudden, hey, Ray, I really appreciate you going the extra mile. Are you guys with me? Next, here's Mike McDade. He said, to date, I've sent out 600 of these letters in shots of 130 to 150 or so. Just got a call from the letter and set up an appointment for Saturday. I've had 6 closings so far from working this system. Almost 50 grand in commissions. 50 grand. We are stuffing money in your pockets during this training program. Have you guys noticed that? Here's Maria Sanchez Odell. Okay, Dan and Maria sell over 300 homes a year. Been in our coaching program for almost 20 years. But when we come up with a tool like this, as a master, they're open to learn, open to grow, and they put it in place. So here's what they said. Sent the letter out and got 1 sale and 2 other sellers that said they're 6 months out. The constant drum to our database that we've got buyers in this price range turned into 1 client from a client who knows 3 potential sellers. Talking to them right now. This stuff works. Now, here's something that's, again, the mindset of a master. We got 2 people who are interested in 6 months from now selling their home. What's the typical agent thinking? The typical agent that makes less than $35,000 a year in gross commissions. What are they thinking? 6 months from now is a long time, isn't it? Yes. It's no good to me, right? That's a waste of time. Because their need is what's driving their business. Not their professionalism, not their mindset, not their philosophy, not their self-belief. And again, I know I'm talking to people right now, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad about yourself. I'm trying to make you commit to a career where you're a pro, where you can ultimately live the fabulous good life that this business offers. But you got to stay the course with it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now, throughout this program, we want to encourage you with people who've mastered these fundamentals. We call it Lessons from the Legends. In this particular episode, you'll hear some of the best seller practices that these agents have to share. Let's take a look at these working by referral legends.
My best tips for working with sellers, and I think there's a couple of them that I think are important. And the first would be is that you have to practice. And most agents practice when they sit down in front of the seller for the first time, and that's really the only time that they do it. But I heard the illustration of you couldn't imagine a professional quarterback in the NFL playing a game, not practicing for a week, going to the game the next Sunday and expecting to throw a 50-yard rope over someone's shoulder into their hands. It just doesn't happen. And so practicing your listing presentation, practicing what you're going to say with clients so that when you sit down in front of them, you're a professional because that's what they're looking to hire, would be probably my top tip. My second one, and this is a question that I ask every single person that I'm working with at some point during the conversation when we sit down, is I say, what is it that you expect of me as your realtor? And you'd be amazed at what people tell you, but they really will tell you what they expect. And then you say, and what else? And what else? And what else? Until they have exhausted what they expect of you, and now you know what you're up against or what your expectations are so that you can address unrealistic expectations, or you can make sure that you're on point and that you hit what they want you to hit.
My best tip for working with sellers is to be an active listener. So, for example, you may show up at their home or at their business just fired up, ready to go. You have your market analysis and you have your timeline of events and what's going to happen. You're going to have your client care package ready to go. But they may not be ready to hear that. When you are ready to sell a home or purchase a home, your mind is sometimes in a whole different plane and you're worried about things that maybe your realtor isn't aware of immediately. And so I always go into these meetings thinking, I got to be an active listener. What is top of mind for them today? So I usually start out the conversation with just breathing and just how are you guys doing today, or what's top of mind for you, and I wait for them to really kind of unload everything that is on their mind down onto paper, whether it's just me looking them in the eye and talking with them and having a conversation, or if they're lists, if they're, Kendall, we need a contractor, we need a painter, we need a da-da-da, I'll just sit and make lists. So I try to be a real active listener so that they can later hear what I have to say in my presentation.
My best tip for working with sellers is to understand the perspective of where they are coming from. They are totally different than buyers. The needs of sellers typically are more serious. On a typical day, and you work with 3 or 4 sellers, one of them could be getting a job transfer. One of them could be pregnant. One of them could be, unfortunately, getting a divorce. One of them, unfortunately, could be ill. And you have to be adaptable to every single situation that is faced to you. And so you have to modify where you're coming from, how to adapt, how to care, and how to execute. Sometimes there's no pressure on a seller. I'll just sell whenever it's time. And sometimes sellers are under such stress, you've got to be able to execute now. And if you're not prepared to deal with all of those different scenarios, you have something to learn, which is what the Buffini & Company system can provide to you. They can teach us how to learn, how to get better.
My best tip for working with sellers is to set expectations. It is really important that you approach a seller and not just understand the market, which you have to understand the trends that are working at any given time, but it's important that you lead. Sellers want to be led, and they want advice. So I think we do sellers a huge disservice if we don't set expectations and walk them through how to get top dollar, how to prepare their home for the market, and just be honest about what the expectation of the market is and how long it's going to take to get their home sold, whether or not they follow your advice.
Here are your action steps for Module 4. Number 1, call all active sellers with an update for this week. Number 2, each day call 5 people in your database and use the Big 3 dialogue with a seller emphasis. Number 3, each day write 3 personal notes to people you've talked with. Number 4, send out the first e-report to your database. Remember, this is a supplemental piece on the same topic we sent during Module 2, and it continues the stacking effect. Number 5, send out the I may have a buyer for your home letter to 100 homes in your buyer's target neighborhood. Pick a buyer you're having a heck of a time finding a home for and go create your own inventory.